How'd you like that?
I was gonna say, can you just start there? Can you give your reaction? I mean, that's one of the greatest night of fights we've ever
I
seen.
mean, 2 years in a row. Don't think you can make that up as far as entering a new market in Salt Lake and the atmosphere. Like everyone just turned around and said again.
Yeah,
So it's pretty cool.
it's setting a pretty high standard for other cities to live up to.
I think we're already talking about next year.
I was going to ask you, a lot of fighters, I know you're kind of instrumental in bringing the UFC here. A lot of fighters in the cage tonight were very complimentary of Salt Lake City and of Utah. So, in your mind, does that mean like mission accomplished? Like we're not just getting great events, but we're getting this great feedback as well?
No, I think you've got the fastest growing state in the country. I think you've got the youngest state in the country, and it's been that way for a few years. It's what brings me to want to go do what we're doing in sports and our partnership with UFC. I think we're both all in on trying to improve. I mean, it's not like, I think you look from the card standpoint, and the last 2 years, like this isn't just they're just not going through the motions. I mean, we're literally working to have an amazing event here and be something that's hopefully like the staple of the summer.
Yeah, and I guess that would be my last question is, because I heard a lot of people saying it 2 years in a row. What can you tell us? Are they going to do it an annual? Can they do it? I mean, do you see like a multi-year partnership or something where you're here once a year?
Look, we're taking it year by year, but we just got, I was just, talking to the folks about next year, what we can improve on, how we go bigger. I think if you look at, I'm sure the numbers will come out, they're significantly better than last year. And, as you're coming into a market, people can start putting it on the calendar. They know everyone who is here is going to go tell their friends, right? And you start to see that, and and we have a lot of people who came in from out of town as well. I mean, if you look at the proximity of the airport, how we're here, it's just easy. Utah is easy, and it just works.
Yeah, so I was about to ask one more. I know it takes a long time to put together a true economic impact study, but are there any kind of initial indicators as to what kind of impact this event's had on the community?
I think it's probably too early to tell. I mean, this is year 2, but as a whole, I think you look at what's happening in the state of sport in Utah. It's really positive. I mean, that's all you can say. But people want to get out. They want to come out, and it's just cool. It's just cool to see it. And I mean, this is similar to what we experience, for basketball. It's what we experience for most things we do in this arena. The arena is a special arena. If you notice the verticality of how it goes, it's different than almost anything that is like this, and that's why it feels so electric as well as when you're here.
Ryan, what is it about Salt Lake City? Well, actually, maybe the Wasatch Front, where you got the UFC now, a couple terrific years. You got the MLB looking at Salt Lake, and then you got the NHL, maybe the Coyotes. What is it? What's kind of changed over the last, say, 5, 6, 7 years?
Yeah, if you look, if you just think about growth, like what growth looks like, you can see it in UFC. It's something easy to point to and say, hey, where was UFC 10 years ago? And you see the compounding growth where it's getting better and better every year. When you're the fastest growing state, 6 out of the last 10 years, you actually look very different than you did 10 years ago. And me growing up as a kid here and coming to this arena and driving from where I lived, it was a lot of farms, a lot of fields, pretty much from 60 miles north to 60 miles. It's all a community. And so if you look at the Wasatch Front, it's one big community, and I think people are starting to realize. We just held All-Star. It was one of the most successful All-Star games that they've ever had. It was digital first. We have 250,000 college kids within 60 miles. You look at the youth. I mentioned as being the youth, lowest unemployment, #1 economy, top 4 tech boom. And you got 7 million people that come into this area for tourism, to ski and I think people are also going, hey, wow, there's something about the mountains and the wellness of Utah. And Delta just put, $3 billion into the airport. And we come here, we can get places, we can live, we can spread out. But in a world where wellness is a premium in all aspects of life, people are going, hey, this is where I want to be, especially when I can live wherever now.
A lot of people are
No, we're in those conversations. I've talked to Gary frequently. I think if you look at SEG and what we've done, we're 2.5 years in taking over the Jazz. We obviously the arena, we brought the Delta Center back. I think it's the first time in sports that we've been able to actually bring the naming back. I mean, Carl was here tonight, and he walks in, he's like, holy cow, it just feels different, right? If you look at, we just launched a media company to go wall to wall in the state of Utah. So we'll have 3 million people that have access to games. It's the first in the NBA, the first thing like it. We're going direct to consumer as well, and we're going to sign a deal to go outside of the state because we're 30 minutes from Wyoming and Idaho, and there's a lot of people from there that came down to see the fight. And so as you start to look at the power of how to activate this new Utah, and when it comes together, I think All-Star Game was probably the first time it all came together. And everyone's like, whoa, this is what it looks like. Since the Olympics, maybe. And then if you go fast forward, there's events like this where it came together. You look at the Olympics coming back, it's coming together. And I think people are realizing, like, what the power of this place is. So hockey's on the radar. I think we can walk in on day one and have an incredible presence. So I'm excited. I mean, obviously I'm in the business, so it's fun. Yeah, it's hard. My wife's from Vegas, so there's no rivalry. I mean, it's a different experience. But there's parts of Utah that are an hour away from Vegas. And so I think you look at the geography side. There's a strong connection between here and there. But I think if you look at hockey specific, like an expansion team to come in and first 3 years win a championship, it's a playbook and a model of how to expand, and especially to have Seattle there. So I think it's exciting. Any more hockey questions?
Hey, Ryan. Mark Powell was telling me earlier this week about how when you...
Are you wearing a collar? That's nice.
You've seen me in a suit before. Mark Powell was telling me how when you bought the Jazz and the Delta Center, you asked him, is there anything I can help you with? And he told you right then, reach out to your buddies at Endeavor so we can get a pay-per-view here. Can you kind of just recap how those early conversations went about making UFC pay-per-views in Salt Lake City a reality?
Yeah, I mean, I think, so first of all, just because you have friends at Endeavor doesn't mean you're going to get a UFC fight. I mean, you've got to be able to do what this place just did, right? But, I'm close with Ari. Silver Lake, obviously, is who owns Endeavor and are a big piece of it. And they also, own my company as well. So we're all in the family a little bit. But I think those relationships are great. And I think there's a lot of trust that they know how I operate, and they're willing to go out a little bit on a limb maybe if you didn't know each other. And so I think at any time that you can work in business and there's a little bit more trust, trust is key. And so, but at the end of the day, that's all great, but you've got to have a market and a place that can perform like this place has. And so I think, I think our relationships just add on top of that there's a relationship and some trust there and some built-in history.
Ryan, with everyone seemingly shocked by how great Utah is, from All-Star Weekend to UFC, it's like people are having these realizations of, oh wow, this is a place to be. For you, is it kind of like a long time coming? Like you're like, okay, now people are seeing what I've always had seen, kind of thing?
No, not at all. I think the only reason why people don't see it is because no one's ever spoken for Utah before. Like, people speak against Utah and no one ever says anything from Utah's standpoint. I mean, we built one of the greatest tech ecosystems in the world. The tech world knows very well about Utah. But I think now what you're seeing is someone say, in a group in a state, say, no, actually we have a voice. Like, come check it out. And you're seeing moments where people are saying, whoa, I was able to come to Utah and experience it. And it's different. It's just different. There's something about, I mean, I heard someone came to me today say, like, I got off the plane and I got here and I just kind of took a deep breath. And I was like, huh. Or Travis Scott came to an NBA game last year and he just stood up and said, I just love Utah when I come here. Like, there's just this, it's just different. And I mean, I've got 26 offices around the world for tech. Like, it's not like we don't go everywhere. We just choose to live here. And I think forever there's this notion that maybe people were here not by choice. And I don't, I mean, I think for me, this is my passion. My passion is building Utah. And, you know, it's crazy how sports has come into that. And if, you know, I'm willing to kind of put everything I've got behind that. And it's pretty cool to work on. It's pretty cool to be able to work on a state. And it's fun. It's a fun thing, and I believe in it. And I believe in things. I mean, I had a judge come up tonight and say, hey, I started at UFC just here, and now I'm hired on full time. Like, that's cool. That's a cool experience. So those things, there's a lot that still happens. And no state's perfect. I mean, come on. But I think we're less screwed up than everyone else. Yeah, for sure. So we did an event. One of the things that was really cool is Dwayne and the crew, they do a spades event for every All-Star. That's kind of one of these cool events. And we did this event at COSM. And there's something there. There's something there. I mean, I think, you know, one day, I think the indoor-outdoor, you know, providing that experience outside, it would be really, really cool. But I love that idea. I think there's a lot of innovation that can happen around the way we view live sports. I think we're early days. And I know the NBA's tried a bunch of stuff. Hockey's tried it. I think there's something there. But I'm a big fan. I love it. I mean, you look at it, you just see it differently. And by the way, it's not like we're not experiencing that with screens. Everyone's screens are bigger. So when those worlds can overlap and make it a little bit more interactive, like, I think we're all in on that. And to have it here in Salt Lake, it's pretty cool. All right, thank you.